morning to you, our Camnet viewers, and welcome to the Camnet Monday edition today, 4th June 2023. To present the show this morning, I am your host, Zipporah Mchala, joined by my colorful and beautiful colleague, Miriam Kaimba. Good morning, Miriam.
Good morning, Zippo. And
you're looking very colorful, and I'm in all black.
Thank you so much. You know, this is my birthday month, so I'm trying by all means to look very colorful.
In preparation for the birthday.
Exactly.
So who do we expect on the show?
So today we are going to be joined by a guest shortly. I don't want to reveal his name yet. Yeah, where we're going to be looking at, you know, the issue of drug abuse and the role that the community can play in preventing, you know, the abuse of drugs by our young people in the communities. When you talk about, you know, Kalingalinga, Mtendere, we have seen that a lot of young people are fond of, you know, abusing these drugs. So how can we as a community, you know, come up with different projects on how we can curb this vice in our communities? Exactly. So we are going to be looking at that at exactly at 8 hours. And at 0730, we are going to be looking at some of the trending issues that are happening, not forgetting that today it's Child Labor Day. Yeah.
Definitely. And for our viewers, I'm sure Miriam, they're like, where was Miriam last week? But anyway, she's here, she's back, and she's ready
back
to work.
I am back, exactly, Zipporah. I am back. It was, I was in Shanghai. It was quite a good journey. Yeah, we met a lot of people, different, you know, things, learning different things. Yeah, it was quite a
You know, when I was there, I used to hear of Shangombo, like people always used to refer to it as, you look like you come from Shangombo, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think those are the places that we should develop using the constituency development fund.
Exactly,
and I hope that it will no longer be, you look like you come from Shangombo, but it will be a good place, you know, where the businesses, where the good roads and all that.
Exactly, and you know, is closer to Angola. So when you're talking about development, there's urgent need to ensure that we bring development in Shangombo, because people from Angola, Zipporah, quite shocking. They were even coming to Shangombo, you know, to get services from there, talking about medicine, bread and other stuff. So we need to develop that province. Yeah.
Quite interesting. Anyway, just to start our day on a very productive note, let's just get some health tips from our doctor on the Health Corner.
Hi, good morning and welcome to the Health Corner here on the Breakfast Show. I am Dr. Nakubiana Mfaya. This week we have another very interesting topic, and we continue to look at conditions that affect women for the whole month of March. And so this week we are talking about another condition that affects a lot of women, and it's a condition that is seen in many people in the hospitals. So many people come with this condition. So we are going to talk about fibroids. So we want to understand what are fibroids and how do they come about. We also want to know what are some of the signs and symptoms to look out for you to be able to say that you have fibroids. Then we will look at how it's diagnosed and treated. What are the treatment options for fibroids? Then we'll also look at the complications and how you can prevent yourself from having fibroids. So today we'll look at what are fibroids. We want to understand what they are, and fibroids are benign tumors. So when we say benign tumors, we are talking about it's a tumor, of course, but it's not cancer. So these are tumors that occur in the uterus or the womb, and there are different types. So they can be found inside the uterus or around the uterus, outside the uterus, around the uterus, or in the walls of the uterus. So these are like tumors that grow in the uterus itself or around the uterus or in the muscles of the uterus. And they affect so many women, and they usually, mostly, it's women who are above 40 to 50 years. But any woman who has already started having her menses and is able to produce a lot of estrogen, they can easily get these fibroids. So from even as low as 20 years of age, someone can start having fibroids even when they are still very young. So these fibroids usually have estrogen receptors. Estrogen is a hormone that women usually have, especially when they start their menstrual cycles. They will produce a hormone called estrogen. And so when this estrogen is not regulated very well in the uterus, it may end up causing fibroids. And so these fibroids have estrogen receptors, and so when the estrogen binds to those receptors, they end up growing, and so they end up growing bigger in size. And this is why for people who have fibroids and they become pregnant, they would experience that their fibroids start becoming bigger, because when you're pregnant, you have more estrogen, and so your fibroids become bigger in size. So this is how fibroids usually come about, and this is what we call fibroids. And so we'll understand what are some of the risk factors and other causes of fibroids tomorrow. So make sure you watch tomorrow again to be able to know exactly how these fibroids come about and what are some of the other causes and also some of the other risk factors that you might not be aware of. So I do hope you have learned something. Today we're talking about what fibroids are, and we have said that fibroids are benign tumors, benign because they are not cancerous, but they are tumors that grow in the uterus or around the uterus, which is the womb, and these have got estrogen receptors which help them to grow even bigger when they are activated. So make sure that you watch the breakfast show, and if you want to watch other episodes that we have done on the Health Corner, you can also watch them on my YouTube channel, which is Dr. Nakubiana Mfaya Siameka on YouTube. I do hope you have learned something, and I'll see you again next time.
I hope you learned one or two things there from the doctors. You know, those healthy tips are quite very important, and we appreciate that the doctors have continued coming every day, every single morning when we come on our breakfast show, you know, to give us these healthy tips. But anyway, just a reminder to our viewers that at 7:30 we'll officially open our phone lines, where we'll be looking at, or rather talking about trending issues, things that are happening in our community. Right about now, we go direct into our money market. So we have the United States dollar there buying at 20 quarter 06 ngwe and selling at 20 quarter 46 ngwe. We have the euro there buying at 21 quarter 60 ngwe and selling at 22 quarter 03 ngwe. We have the South African rand there buying at 1 quarter 07 ngwe and selling at 1 quarter 09 ngwe. We have the Great British pound there buying at 25 quarter 23 ngwe and selling at 25 quarter 73 ngwe. Selling parts, the dollar is already on the 20 quarter.
And even on the buying.
Yeah, buying, but you know, the 20 quarter 46 ngwe, meaning it's heading toward the 21 quarter.
Anyway, it's good for people who have money in dollars. I think I'll just a little longer.
So if you were keeping those dollars at home, please, this is the high time that you should, you know.
Because if maybe say, is it $100, it's about 2,000 now.
Yes.
But previously it was been on 1.8.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now that's going
so it's about 2,000 something.
But I'm wondering, does the value change when it's 2,000? Maybe, but like, are you going to benefit because it means that, you know, you still buy prices at a higher, items at a higher price?
Yeah.
So I think it's the same, whether it's low, whether it's high. When it's low, you buy them at a lower price, and it's high, you buy them at a higher price.
Yeah, Anyway,
we do hope that, we see the kwacha faring, in a good way by at least December. This is now 6 months. I mean, 6 more months.
Yeah, but
of
it keeps on changing. So next time you wake up, you find it at 16 kwacha, sometimes 15 kwacha. It keeps on fluctuating. So anyway, we'll just hope and pray for the best here. So what are some of the stories that we have for our guests this morning?
Well, yesterday we did see residents of Ngwerere compound in Lusaka, and Ngwerere, I think it should be, is it after Matero or something? It's further down.
Yes.
Yes, they're just, complaining about the lack of medicine at Ngwerere clinic. So, they're saying they would like the government to make sure that they handle this issue. And if you remember, Miriam, there's been a lot of debate where they're saying, no, some contractors who are supplying medicine were cancelled and all that. But also, on the other hand, we've seen government through the Ministry of Information and Media Director spokesperson Tao Kawana, he's been coming on board to say that, government is working around the clock to make sure that everything is put in order in the health sector. So I think that's the cry from residents, the issue of medicine.
But the issue of medicine, I think this is high time that government should deal with it once and for all. Because starting last year, we had, received complaints about lack of medicine in various health facilities across the country. And, seeing that this trend has continued, it's quite sad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Then let's just take a look at that story. Concerns of some hospitals and health facilities lacking medicine have continued coming from various communities, a situation which citizens say they want a permanent solution to. Various citizens have been indicating that the problem, which can be traced from previous administrations, has prevailed at many health facilities, which has seen them going away with prescriptions most of the time. Residents of Ngwerere compound in Lusaka state that this is what has been prevailing at Ngwerere clinic.
wakulemberana munkwara utondoka kuza pesa munkwara no dula kuja umuntu no body yoka alibena tandizo yonse azaenda bwanyo kagure munkwara alibendera mazo kwani soti agure munkwara muntu zachita bwanji ise government itirekerera munga pankani ya munkwara tikaenda zatirembera munkwara tikaenda kuri bantu tenze ko ndigure munkwara swanga tandizo nawo chisa munkwara
olo tadwala tivutika chabe ola muntu adwala azivutikira mwene wake manje tizachitabwa uliba kwa mneza dandaulira even ya government amnetika mota atipase mangwa tizacho sakuti.
Others have also called for other problems like the lack of proper roads to be addressed.
Awe pameti kaenda kliniki sitima pesa mungwala chabe ni mapepe kulibe mungwala good so tipezeka kuti tikaenda tikaguleni tifera mnyumba ambiri kuno kungwerere sipati kilako nzeru na malodi futi kulibe manzi matenda ni yakulu futi kuchipata kulibe transport motoka chani vose kulibe.
Government is however on record indicating that they are alive to the challenges being faced by citizens in the health sector and that they will ensure that these become a thing of the past. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka. So that was a story from Ngwerere compound, and just now we have officially opened our phone lines, so you can call in on the numbers that are scrolling on your screen and contribute to the topic. We are discussing trending issues in the country before our main topic at 8 hours, which will be ending drug abuse. What is the role of communities in ending drug abuse? And so just now we are discussing various issues that are trending. We just played a story from Ngwerere compound on the issue of medicines. Miriam, your thoughts?
Exactly, and I would just like to get the viewers' perspective on what they think about this issue as government, come on board to ensure that this issue is addressed adequately. Because we have seen for quite some time, talking about early 2021, people have been complaining about issues.
That's been happening since, as far as the 2011, yes. I remember sometimes you go to the clinic,
exactly.
Yeah, you're given some medicine, but then you're given prescriptions.
But now with the ushering in of a new administration, what has changed? This is something that, people would want to, to hear and see. Exactly, because there's no way, Zipporah, if this issue has been there for a long time, you saw your friend, you saw the previous administration struggling to handle it, haven't you learned something? What are things that you're putting in place to ensure that you address these issues and they do not affect us? Because trust me, if residents, people are complaining at the moment right now that we do not have medicines in these healthy facilities, 5 years from now, people will still complain. The issue is what measures are being put in place to ensure that, yes, these issues are addressed permanently and we don't, go back to complaining about the same thing. Then we're not doing anything. Yeah, these are the concerns that, various people have on ground. And again, last time I did cover the Vice President in January, Zipporah, where she mentioned she did a tour in various health facilities, the University Teaching Hospital, Levi Mwanawasa, Matero, and Chipata. What she discovered is that we have essential medicines, and when we talk about this essential medicine, we're not talking about Panadol and these other stuff. So these are some of the things that government officials should be explaining to the people out there, that we have essential medicine. Because when they go to the hospital and they are told we don't have Panadol, the next thing you hear is Tilipe Minkwara ma hospital. But Panadol is not considered as an essential medicine. Yes, exactly. So these are the things that government officials should start explaining to people so that people can understand. Yeah.
Definitely quite interesting there. So do call us as we are discussing various trending issues. So that was the issue of medicine. And just now another trending issue which made headlines yesterday is the issue of the Constituency Development Fund. Now Miriam, I'm sure if you followed what was happening last week, we had Shiwangandu, Member of Parliament, Stephen Kampyongo, complaining because what happened previously. There was the UPND Secretary General Batuke Menda was in his constituency the other week as he was rounding up constituencies to see how the funds are being used. And he said in Shiwangandu, the funds are almost not used at all. Like the CDF has hardly been touched. And so this prompted, Mr. Kampyongo to respond. And he was very upset at the press briefing, accusing Mr. Menda of going outside his duties, as a party secretary general, saying he's not going to government duties because CDF is government money. So there was that exchange of, words.
But the issue again is, why hasn't CDF in Shiwangandu district not been used?
So again, he came to say, my job as an MP ends at telling the council, or rather recommending to the council, so it's up to the council. And he further went to accuse, the UPND, saying, in fact, the council had been closed because some UPND cadres, that's what slowed down according to him. So he said some UPND cadres, went to the council and, they wanted to get contracts by force, they caused confusion, so they had to close it. So anyway, that was his explanation, and he said even apart from that, his job as an MP only ends on advising them or recommending. So there was that issue of should, party officials
monitor the constituency.
Yeah. So I did actually even pose that question yesterday to Mr. Gilbert Soniso, and he said, the UPND is the party in government. If CDF feels, they won't say President Hichilema, they say the UPND. So they're saying as the UPND, they're responsible for making sure that everything goes in place. And yesterday he actually gave a directive for his youth to go flat out and monitor the CDF. So just hope we'll not see confusion, Miriam. So that was the story that we did.
Exactly. But when it comes to monitoring, I think each and every citizen should, participate in ensuring that the CDF funds are being utilized for the intended purpose. It shouldn't only be the mandate of those in the ruling party. Because if we only give them the mandate to do so, we'll find that at the end of the day, we'll see misuse of these resources. So when we are going to say we are monitoring, that includes, providing checks and balances, so that we ensure that there's accountability for that, for the utilization of those funds. Yeah.
Let's just take a look at that story, and remember to keep joining us in the conversation. We are discussing trending issues before our main topic at 8 hours.
Focus on mobilizing his party other than politicking with the CDF. CDF is government money. It's not coming from the Secretariat of UPND.
The United Party for National Development Youth Chairperson Gilbert Liswaniso has encouraged party youths across the country not to relent in monitoring the implementation of the Constituency Development Fund CDF across the country. Mr. Liswaniso, who spoke when he addressed the media in Lusaka Sunday morning, says Zambia's President Hakainde Hichilema is the one who directed the party officials to ensure that they monitor how the people's resources are being spent across the country, and says they should not feel intimidated to monitor the projects.
So, my deputy chairman here, as we are availing the committee of the national wing, the first responsibility that we need to monitor the CDF across the country. That's why we called all the 10 provincial youth chairmen with their executive that this matter should be taken now serious, that we need to monitor all the projects at a constituency level, so the people of Zambia are able to benefit. I agree that it's not our money as UPND, it's the money of the citizens who pay taxes.
Mr. Liswaniso has also reminded those claiming that UPND members have no rights to monitor government projects that the UPND is now in office and any activities being undertaken in the country have no involvement of the party.
If there is no medicine, let us know. Then we go in a good manner. We approach those who are in charge at that clinic. We need to approach who is the head teacher at that school. We are in charge, Vane. UPND, we are in charge of this government. President Hakainde has never told the UPND members, no, stay away. No, we need to be in charge. The only thing which has told us, all of us, is to touch the coffers of the government to bring to the party UPND. But in terms of monitoring and participating in the governance of this country, we need to participate as a party. If we stay away, these opposition leaders, they'll take advantage of that and they'll continue lying the people of Zambia.
The party youth chairperson has also appealed to the Zambia police to expedite investigations into the gassing incident that claimed the lives of many poor Zambian citizens, and says all those who were behind the barbaric attacks should face the full wrath of the law to ensure that criminals do not take advantage of the Zambian people ever again.
Any politician who is going to dance to a tune of compromising to do with gassing, then it's normal in his head. That was not politics. That was terrorism on its own, when you are killing your own people. You can imagine how people are being brutalized in our compounds. So we are appealing to the IG and the police that do your job to ensure that all the culprits are brought to book. That's what we want to see. And this is what we're expecting all of us as a citizen. Because this country now, by then, it was almost now turned into whereby killing was normal.
The youth wing then proceeded in a closed-door meeting to elect new provincial youth leadership that will see the party grow. Prudence Chota reporting for Camnet TV News.
Quite interesting.
Quite interesting. The youths.
They are youths.
They are youths, indeed. But you know, one thing I got from Mr. Liswaniso there, what he was saying, that no, we're going to tell our youths to go there, out there in the clinic. If there's no medicine, they tell us.
In short, to monitor whatever is happening, CDF, everything to do with governance.
Isn't that the duty of the government?
I don't know, but according to them, they say...
I think there should be a distinction between what the ruling party can do as a party and what government is in charge of. Yeah. Won't you now be commanding doctors, hey, why would you be medicine? Yeah, that would be confusion. Anyway, your thought on that?
Anyway, I think we need to ask the experts, what they think. Could this give birth to cadarism? I think the experts like Bremna Changara are able to advise us better, and Mr. Changara, when it comes to such issues. So,
yeah.
But anyway, that was the issue of the Constituency Development Fund. So according to the UPND, they feel that they are going to monitor the CDF despite opposition from some political parties saying they should not monitor, as they are not the government but the parties. So according to them, they're stating that if they do not monitor, it means that the UPND as the party will be affected come 2026.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Because what they're going to say is UPND in general.
They won't say agent or...
No, they will just say
so you're supporting.
But in as much as they do this monitoring, there should be a limitation of at what extent they can go. You know, to what extent they can go, because we don't want to see a situation, Zippo, where people, the UPND guys, are now being considered as interfering with governance issues when they do their monitoring thing. Yes, they can monitor, and it's a duty of every citizen in the country, you know, to ensure that they monitor, they hold those in charge of distributing these constituency development fund resources accountable to ensure that there's, you know, prudent utilization of these funds. We don't want to see at the end of the day the misuse of these funds. Exactly. What other stories do we have for our viewers this morning?
Well, Miriam also did say another story. I don't know if it is ready. Maybe our technician can just get that ready as we discussed. What we did see, you know, the church and the UPND talking about governance issues in the country. So you saw Father Emmanuel Chikoya from the Council of Churches in Zambia, you know, just calling for equal application of the law. So that's those are one of the stories that we saw making headlines yesterday, where he's calling for equal application of the law. You know, where he wants, you know, both maybe UPND members and non-UPND members to be arrested. So you're just basically responding to what has been happening in the country, and this follows, you know, the outcry from the Patriotic Front, who have been stating that, you know, the church, like other churches in Zambia, have not been speaking out on what is happening. So, according to them, they're saying for them as a council of churches, they're always fair, they always speak out, you know. So they're saying there needs to be an equal application of the law. And on the other hand, we did see the UPND Deputy Secretary General Gertrude Menda coming in to defend the UPND, saying that the investigative wings are operating independently, and she also cited some arrests of UPND members, such as, you know, the district commissioners in the Suchi Lights case. So she says, according to her, she says, isn't that arrest of UPND members? So who else did they want to arrest? And according to, you know, Madam Imenda, she said, in fact, UPND youth are saying people are laughing at us because we are being arrested every day. So I don't know, Miriam, your thought on that, but once our story is ready, I'm sure we'll just get to play that clip.
And, you know, I want to see, you know, I would love to wake up in a new day where I would see, you know, the application of the law is not being selected, applied selectively. Because the concern, rather, even the time the Patriotic Front was in government, Zipporah, we didn't see a lot of PF officials being arrested, even if they did something worse, which was supposed to, you know, to ensure their arrest. But every time we have this notion that every time a party comes out of power, this is the time that we see investigative wings, you know, pouncing on them, trying to investigate, and we have seen a lot of cases before the courts of law. And this should be something that we should move away from. If we're going to say that, you know, we want to see these investigative agencies, the law enforcement agencies, to operate independently, meaning investigation should start now. Okay? It shouldn't be, no, because it's from the ruling party, cannot be touched. And sometimes what I have seen in my course of duty is sometimes if investigative wings are trying to, you know, to investigate someone coming from the ruling party, you know, most of the times they would find difficulties because they say, they want to watch, you know, I'm bomb. And you know, sometimes when that person is arrested, shortly they'll be released. The matter won't even be taken to court. And this is something that we have seen that we have continued to experience as a country. But you know, this is something that we want to move away, because we have seen President Hakainde Hichilema being on record on several occasions saying, as a UPND member, if you do something wrong, you are on your own. And this is what we want to see. We want to see now the investigative wings to start applying these things. They shouldn't care which person is coming from where, which political party they are affiliated to. No. If someone is caught doing something illegal against the law, they should be, investigated and let the law do its course. Yeah.
Definitely. And let's just take a look at that story. So we are discussing trending issues. Keep joining us in the conversation. Players on the political scene, such as members of the former ruling Patriotic Front Party, have been lamenting alleged persecution under the United Party for National Development UPND administration, charging that they're being arrested on a daily basis. This follows various arrests of PF members following the party's loss in 2021. The UPND administration has, however, been stating that these arrests are justified as the PF regime was corrupt, while indicating that the Zambia police and other investigative wings are conducting their operations independently with no political hand influencing them. The Council of Churches in Zambia, CCZ, through its General Secretary, Father Emmanuel Chikoya, has commented on the happenings in the country.
And so that becomes a problem. When same things are done, one is arrested, another is not arrested, then it sends a message that the police are being used to harass and harangue those that are perceived to be opponents. So we hear their cry, but I want to assure them that we've spoken. And I think by now, for some of us, we are being vindicated. We were torn apart in the past, but in the recent past, we've been branded now as being a political party A or B, because people feel we should be singing the song according to the assignment they've given to us. But no, we will be able to speak to the moral conscience of the country and truth to power. And we assure them that we will not be silent when the security wings, when law is being used to the disadvantage of a particular stakeholder.
Meanwhile, the UPND, through its Deputy Secretary General Gertrude Menda, said there is equal application of the law under the current administration.
In fact, there's also an accusation from our members that they are the ones who are being arrested more than the others. And they say they are being laughed at because they say, look at you, you were suffering and so on and so on. But they are the ones who are being arrested. They are the ones who are mostly in police custody and things like that. The example is, you remember the Switzerland saga? District commissioners, who appoints the district commissioners? It's the president. So, and they were fired. So, are you going to say those are members of the opposition or what? They were appointed by the president, but he fired them. And they were arrested, and I think the case is in court.
For now, many stakeholders continue to monitor what is happening on the political scene as the country moves towards becoming an ideal democracy. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Quite interesting. I really don't know, but I bet to be, to be termed wrong, but we have seen, just from what the deputy SG was saying, that people are laughing at us that the UPND were being arrested more. Is it me or you? I don't know if it's everyone, but I haven't heard of so many arrests in relation to the UPND. Mm-hmm. No. Yeah, no.
And so that was the story. What are your thoughts as our viewers? Those are our trending issues. We played earlier the story of the lack of medicines, and now we played this story from the UPND. And earlier we played a story from Mr. Liswaniso, who was saying they're going to monitor CDF.
Yeah, please do call us. Those who are watching us live on Facebook, drop us your message and we'll be able to read them. And those who are watching us in the comfort of your home, please do call us. We do have
a caller. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning, we can get you, sir.
Good morning.
Morning, who are we talking to this morning?
Mr. Mtonga.
Mr. Mtonga, it's good to know that you are watching us. Please, where are you watching us from?
From Mazabuka.
It's good to know that Mazabuka is watching us this morning. Please go ahead with your contribution, sir.
I want to contribute on the comments by the SG for UPND. This woman is trying to say UPND members are true that these LPG members are being arrested. An example is the one that was reported by this Wenda. He reported the Wenda for calling me pastor or the father to cover it as the Lucifer. That matter was reported. Up to now, nothing has been done to see that they're actually arresting them. So how should we believe her that they are arresting themselves like other people? I'm sure it's on level. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your contribution.
I did not even know someone reported him. People in Zambia are quick. They are so quick.
But you know, one of the cases that also cite is where Mr. Tali called did allege that the members are useful idiots. He was reported for that and is before the court of law answering for that said offense. So I should think it's you know, certain language are not supposed to be used in public domain, especially if you are a public figure, because a lot of people look up to you. So sometimes when you say something, people may portray that that is the position and that is true. Also, certain things, yeah, we have seen them, you know, certain politicians being reported, but according to our caller, that matter was reported, just like you and me. I didn't know that they said thing was reported. Yeah,
They're just quick.
We'll try to follow it up and see how far the police have gone with the same thing.
And talking of, you know, what has been happening in the community mirror, in the earlier story that we played by Mr. Lusaniso, there was also a part where he said, we're happy that the new Inspector General of Police has opened up the case of gassing. You know, like, wow. So
anyway, let's take this call.
Oh, we do have another caller.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, madam.
You are through to the Camnet TV Breakfast Show. Who are we talking to this morning?
This is Mr. Kashongo calling you from Kalumbila.
It's good to know that Kalumbila is watching us this morning. Please go ahead with your contribution, sir.
Yeah, my contribution is about people talking about arrest. I say, who's supposed to be arrested? If those guys in PF, they were ruling government, the previous government, they are the ones who are in charge with government money. Now, if they are being asked where they take the money or how they use the power, then they say, no, yeah, they are arresting the opponents because they are ruling on the opposition. Maybe they would just understand that they were in control of government money, a government system. So if they mess up, then the law must be handled for them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Quite views coming out there. But again, like we have seen from the church calling that, you know, the law shouldn't be applied selectively. When someone from the ruling party has done something wrong and there's need to investigate them, please investigate them. Don't just wait for them, you know, to leave office. That's when you want to start your investigating. No, your investigations, no. Yeah, you were talking about gassing earlier on.
Yes, well, Mr. Sonso was saying it's good that the new IG has opened up the case of gassing. It will vindicate the UPND because people are accusing them of, you know, trying to sabotage the PF and saying, no, they're the ones who are behind gassing.
But we have seen the former political advisor to President Edgar Lungu being arrested in relation to the same.
And you know, I did speak, although I've not yet used that, I did speak to Mr. Rea Monga, asking why he has not yet been taken to court, you know, and he says his case is not bailable.
Yeah, his case, definitely his case is not bailable. It's because he was charged with treason. So meaning until when the case is concluded, that's when he can.
And you know, in Zambia,
yeah,
now we need to start looking at the, you know, expediting the justice system.
The justice system. That is what we have seen a lot of people calling for. So I really don't want to see something from the police, you know, someone being kept in prison for over a month and not taken to court, because that will be unfair to, you know, to the accused person. They are innocent until proven guilty by the court of law. So, and we have seen the president, you know, calling that, you know, the justice system should be speed up. We don't want to see people. You have done stories, Zipporah, where someone has stayed 6 months in custody without being taken to court, 4 months in custody before being taken to court. This is something that we don't want to see. Yeah,
definitely. Oh, we do have a caller.
Hello, good morning.
Morning, John.
It's good to know that Livingstone is watching us this morning. Please go ahead with your contribution, sir.
Yes. You see, from the time this government has taken over, they are supposed to address what they said people are suffering. They should have given solutions. Even the issue of them complaining about the debt, they knew that there is a debt. Why are they complaining to say the debt now is huge? Which means they did not have a solution. What they wanted was just to come and rule the nation. And even these issues of arresting, let me tell you, my sisters, the people who put the parties into government is not another political party. It is the people, the general populace of Zambia, make decisions every 5 years, either to continue with that political party or remove it. So if God has said that the Patriotic Front will come back, no party will make it fail to come back. No intimidation will make it fail to come back. This is what you must know. We are dealing with destiny. That's what you must know. Even when someone leaves a party, it does not mean that that party cannot come to power, or maybe that party can win. No, it is destiny. So harassment is just wasting time. Let them address matters that are pertaining to the suffering of people. When Catholic is speaking, Catholic is not good. Catholic is a church, bigger church, spiritual church, that from inception, it has been speaking for the vulnerable people of this nation. So let's talk about how do we benefit in the Comesa region than these stories of what you are hearing there. These are video matters. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Quite an interesting observation there.
Yeah, exactly. We have seen, for quite some time, people calling on the UPND, rather focusing their energy and all their time on, blaming or rather harassing their opponents.
According to them, they're not the ones, it's the police.
People observe. So, according to people, they have been calling on the ruling party, to address the issues that are affecting people in Zambia. And talking about issues affecting people in Zambia, I did a story in Shangomo district, Zipora, where people are complaining that a bag of mini meal is being sold at 265 kwacha. They were hit by a dry spell, so farmers did not, harvest enough maize. So, yeah. And they're getting the mini meal from Lusaka, going to Shangomo.
So transportation and all that.
All that, yeah. So
is it that they do not have milling companies there?
No. Quite sad. Anyway, let's get direct into playing that story and we'll continue with our conversation. A combination of prolonged severe drought in Western Province has increased hunger, with the majority of people facing food insecurity. While some leaders have continued to claim that there's no hunger crisis in Zambia, villagers in Shangobo district of Western Province have been severely hit by hunger and unfortunately have not been supplied relief food. Secretary to the Royal Establishment, Dominic Shomeno, says hunger has hit the district this year. He explains that this has now contributed to the escalating price of mealie meal in the district, which has made life difficulty.
The high cost of living, because a bag of mealie meal now, as of yesterday and today, it is at 265 kwacha per 25 kg. And when you go at the market, availability of market, there is no availability of maize. And the bucket of maize is at 180 kwacha. So when you look at the families, calculation of government is about 6 per family. But as the setup in our villages is more than 6. It's about 12, 16 and the like. So you'd find that it has impacted much because there is a high cost of living and the people they are not managing to buy those mili meal. And even the mili meal, where they are buying it in Lusaka, they are coming in at low pace. Because as of last week, there was availability of mili meal, there was nothing.
He has lamented over the prevailing cost of living in Shangombo district, adding that this has left majority of children abscond from school due to hunger and making people's life unbearable. Currently, a 25 kg bag of mili meal in Shangombo district is costing 265 kwacha. Mr. Shomeno has since appealed to government to quickly intervene in the matter.
So we are really appealing from the government to quickly come into our district to help Shangombo district, because all these years we have been experiencing hunger starting from October, but now this year hunger started way back in January, and we are talking of people they are expecting if they will harvest in March next year. So there will be no proper livelihood, because one, they can't hunt because there is a restriction by the Zawa, and then fishing also. The river is in Angola, so all those are the consequences now. So the river is in Angola, so now the catching of fish is limited. Sometimes they close even themselves there in Angola.
Miriam Kemba reporting for Camnet TV News. Quite interesting stories there. Anyway, we hope that their issues will be, addressed very quickly. But anyway, moving forward, we did a story last year in Kanyama district, in Kanyama compound, where a 27-year-old man was abusing drugs to a point where he was almost turning, to become mad. Quite sad situation there. But anyway, we did see the family coming on board and calling on relevant authority like the Drug Enforcement Commission, ensuring that they offer the counseling needed to this young man so that, he can heal from that, addict. But anyway, and before we play that story, we did see another story done by one of our colleague, Patrick Soko, on Saturday, where the Drug Enforcement Commission was in Kalingalinga compound doing some engagement with the community and just see how they can prevent or curb, the abuse of drugs in these communities. We are going to play that story, those two stories, and we'll be joined by our guest this morning, where we're going to be looking at the role of the community in preventing drug abuse. Once an energetic person whose dream was to become a plumber and contribute to the country's national development, but this dream seemed to be going the opposite direction for Ephraim Banda of Lusaka's Kanyama compound, who is at the verge of completely turning mad. The medical expert attributes the condition to excessive abuse of drugs. At only 27 years old, Ephraim's life has turned into an unexplainable reality. Just from the conversation, one is able to tell that not everything is well with him.
Come over, man. Come over.
Despite being in this condition, Ephraim still troubles his mother for money so that he can sneak out of the house and get himself the opportunity to use a very famous drug among his youths in the shanties of Kanyama, known as Volo, a drug that is almost leaving him insane. The pain of seeing a once energetic son turn himself into a complete stranger leaves Langiwa Zulu in total distress.
Sote bachavuta maningi huyu. Ani madrugs ndiye amuvuta. Ndiye mina mfundisa na mapapers ya yanotibana lemba kuchani chite hospital kukabwe ni pole mbata anafunta na madrugs. Sema ile tandizo mimi ningafune kwenda wanalema hapa mwandi ni 5 years manje huyu mwana sale kakutenga madrugs pa Friday peta choka kujaina pa Friday last week banamchita cancel kufika kuna kunyumba anaenda futi kubema futi champa futi na kufunta umeona sasa nkazikika kama mtu pale ndio window kunyumba apukanya banditezo tapa mazi bosa anapukanya manyumba yawe naona kama motoka yawe ni wake.
She is stressed, tired, but the love for her son is pushing her to ensure that he is completely healed from his addiction to drugs.
So ine mani nalema nifika kwa tandizo kapaka kuli wameva ntandize kapani kumulasa nyeledi kapani kumudrena kuchachusi kuti chichoke slizie mwandi babe ningachite ndiye tandizo mimi nifunako ine pano kuti nitandize ku mwandi uyu mwana naye nalema na uyu mwana uyu 5 years this year was 5 years manje afunda chapeso chape so apenza ku school kukabwe apa next month so apa August afuni kolemba exam zo chipka plumbing so apa naleka afunda so abgera ko sazalemba na exam.
And Concerned Citizen for Justice and Human Rights Organization has called on various stakeholders to help and take up the case of 27-year-old Ephraim Banda.
We are facing a lot of challenges in the communities. So right now, I think this is an opportunity for the government, and this is an opportunity for the institution like DEC to come on board, and we work hand in hand to fight the issue of drug abuse in the communities. And we also appealing to those who are selling certain drugs like in the pharmacies, chemists. There are certain drugs that are being sold in the communities. I think it's something that we need to eliminate as a country.
The use of illicit drugs is now the major challenge Zambia must deal with. According to data, around 275 million people used drugs worldwide in 2020, while over 36 million people suffered from drug disorders, according to the 2021 World Drug Report by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime.
That is there requires a multifaceted kind of approach as to ensure that we stand it out. As a commission, we've been relying on the joint operations committees for us to conduct investigations and to conduct operations in those areas. But at the same time, we need each and every person to, after we have conducted those operations, to come in and ensure that they assist in maintaining the peace and sanity that would have been brought about.
Miriam Kaimba reporting for Camnet TV News.
Saturday, 10th June 2023, the Drug Enforcement Commission engaged the community members in Lusaka's Kalingalinga area of Monale constituency, a gesture that will be replicated in other constituencies. Monale Member of Parliament Mike Imposha, civic leaders, members of the general public, the church, the police and the business community converged to discuss issues affecting them and the way forward. Chief among them was the issue of community gangs, commonly known as junkies, and the issue of drugs and alcohol abuse among young people.
Mr. Wapeze we mwamene wazati tandizira kuti abana bamene bachitaki bantu bakulu usiku ma junkie aba ba taking a note kuti bachite employ bantu bamene bazambo tandizira sense community ni ikulu ya Kalingalinga mwamene tizachepese mwamene kuti ma junkie aba bachepe olokapena kusiriza ma group ya abana bamene babisa mabisama.
During the meeting, it was observed that combating vices cannot be left to the Drug Enforcement Commission and other law enforcement wings.
The fight against substance abuse is one serious fight that we need concerted effort as stakeholders, together with government being the major stakeholders. For example, in our case as the Youth Life Project Zambia, we've been working tirelessly with the Drug Enforcement Commission under the Sober Youth Lab program, where we've been getting in our community spaces, sensitizing the youth about the dangers of this vice of drug.
Meanwhile, the Commission says it has focused on enhancing community engagements and awareness in the country to combat drug abuse.
There hasn't been a word, a voice from the civic leaders. Hence, this is why we want, because they are closer to people, they are always with their people. So if they add a word on drugs, it may make a difference. So from Kanyama, then we'll go to Matero George compound, and then we'll see how the response will be. Then the program can be extended to all parts of Lusaka. Later on, at national level, it should be extended to other provinces.
And Area Member of Parliament Mike Imposha, who is also Minister of Water and Sanitation, is disappointed that the council allowed lawlessness to thrive under its watch. He says the sale of alcohol in undesignated places such as markets must be curtailed in order to restore sanity.
Now we find that beer is being sold in markets. We have these liquor stores that are somehow becoming very unregulated. And I'm one lawmaker who is extremely displeased with Lusaka City Council, and I want to say that I had an engagement with them last week to tell them that this problem, we can't have someone setting up a liquor store and closing a public road, completely closing the road and forcing people to use one lane. It's happening right here in this constituency. And now people are operating as if they are daring the law enforcers, like you can't do anything. But the question is, what kind of licenses did you? I think this is the problem of drug abuse. Cannot be left to Drug Enforcement Commission alone, because the people who are selling these drugs are coming from certain homes within this community, but also the people that are, abusing these drugs, the young people, are also coming from our homes.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News.
Quite interesting. Those are the two stories in relation to deal with how we, as a country, we can, prevent drug abuse in our communities. In studio right about now, we have been joined by Mr. Michael Nkosi, the director for Youth Life Project Zambia, who is going to help us, discuss the role of community in preventing drug abuse. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, thank you.
Good morning. We're glad to have you on set this morning.
The pleasure is all mine. I'm equally excited to actually be on set because we are discussing a very important matter. As the Youth Life Project Zambia, I think it's important to emphasize that we are an organization that is youth-oriented, and we are so much focusing looking into the plight of the youth, and we look at youth as with the lenses of considering youth as a productive asset of the nation. So when we come on board to discuss matters of such importance, these are matters that we at all costs want to channel all our energies towards so that we can harness the potential that youth has.
Just to give a little details about your organization, what exactly is Youth Life Project Zambia all about? And are you only based in Lusaka or across the country?
Okay, so Youth Life Project Zambia is a youth-oriented, non-governmental, non-religious, non-political organization. We are based in Lusaka, but our operation areas, it's countrywide depending on the nature of an undertaking or activity that we want to do. This is facilitated or made ably so through our partners. The Youth Life Project Zambia is a social justice hub or a social justice center from the community perspective. Why is it so? It's because we have specific thematic areas that we feel can only be achieved effectively when we put on the face of social justice hub or social justice center. It is so because we want to harness the potential of the youth. We also want to be a channel through which correct information can be disseminated or filtered through to the community, at least to the least in the community. So we want to bridge the lack of information or the gap between the community themselves and the people that are actually running.
Yes. Coming to our topic this morning, we have seen that, or rather we are aware that, a lot of communities have been affected by the so-called junkies, our youth in community who are fond of abusing drugs almost each and every time. As a community, have we seen, members coming in place to show that, we participate in preventing drug abuse in our communities?
Well, first of all, allow me to bring this to the fore. I really don't think it's even a good term to refer to such a very important stakeholder, such as youth, as a junkie. It is a very unfortunate situation that we are here, and it seems normal that we can even say junkie. But one thing that you have to realize is that these same youths actually are coming from homes. Homes where their parents and all that. And to just quickly answer your question to whether we think the community has done enough or it's doing, I really think we've not done our due diligence as the community. We've not played our role. The only challenge that we have right now, because we interact these youth almost every now and then through our center, through the office of the Life Project. There are many things that have led youth to get to where we are. One of the major reasons is the politics. It's the politics, like the actual political players. Then also lack of family. Some of them it's because we're having broken families now.
And just to quickly answer your question as to whether families or community has done enough to help, the answer is no. As a matter of fact, I'm of a view that this is when we are just beginning conversations around the substance abuse. You see, this has been a story that has, or a situation that has lingered for quite a long time, and we've not taken keen interest to want to fight it seriously. All we've done is to make fun of it, to coin terms and names and all those things. But you see, it is only when the community realizes that fighting substance abuse is not a job for DEC only. This is 90% a job for the community. Because these youth that actually abusing substance, abusing drugs, whatsoever that you may call it, they're actually members of these specific communities. They are actually members of these families. So now, this broader picture that we are even going about and looking at this serious pandemic, if I may call it, because I think the only thing that I would equate to the issue that we have at hand, the issue of substance abuse or drug abuse, I think Corona is the one that would come close. This is so serious, it is so cancerous, it is deadly. It is deadly, and it is ravaging our communities at a very fast rate, that before we realize it, almost all the youth will be gone. I've been making these comments passively, saying that do you know that if only 30% of the youth we have today decided to become what we call junkies, you know that this nation will be, there will be chaos. There will be chaos, because when you translate the 30%, it's true, the people that say numbers don't lie. When you translate the 30%, you realize that it's quite a huge number. And this is a population that has no stable income sources. So now, if they are hooked on to this substance abuse or drugs, one notable thing that will be there will be crime rate really escalating to levels that we cannot really manage. And just also, there will be so much disorder in the community. So I think as communities, we can do so much. Because one of the major things that we are supposed to do as communities, we need to acquire right information. Let's change our lenses. Instead of looking at DEC or organizations such as the Youth Life Project itself as maybe snitches or a danger to the society, or a people that are going to get these members of the community who are abusing substance and maybe locking them up. Let's look at them as partners, strategic partners. It's only when we do that, then we can now get, or rather have, good access to right information. Because this fight, in the first place, will only be won when all the stakeholders involved get right information. That's where it begins. From right information, I think the next step will be us graduating to a point where we can now have access to good health facilities. You know, it is not only the community that is not doing well. Allow me to state. Also, the institutions that are supposed to help in curbing this vice. For example, there is lack of harmonization between institutions. For example, DEC, which is, I want to believe, under the Ministry of Home Affairs, and the Ministry of Health. You find that youth wants to reform. They want to rehabilitate. Because we know, it's not a secret, DEC, they're outnumbered, which can easily be translated to being underfunded. Because if we are to fight adequately this serious pandemic of substance abuse, if I may call it, we need offices for DEC to decentralize just as much more, to narrow down into these specific communities where there are hot centers. Yeah? But there are instances where you go to DEC and there are no officers. Not that the officers are not working, no. They are out in the field. You see? So, the youth or those people that want to reform,
one thing that you should realize is that they don't have tomorrow. From experience, we can tell you, the many youths that have approached us to say they want help in these lines, trust me, if you say come tomorrow, 10 hours, be rest assured no one is coming tomorrow. So, why am I even attributing this whole thing to lack of harmonization between institutions? It's because the fight, this serious fight against substance abuse, demands that we do certain things deliberately. For example, fast-tracking the rehabilitation process. There are moments that DEC do not have the adequate resources maybe to do the tests in their laboratory. They will do a referral to Chainama or maybe to UTH or Chilenje level 1. But you know what is going to happen when you get there? You undergo the same process that the person who is suffering from malaria will go through. You see? But with drugs, the challenge is there is some level of impatience because our colleagues that are fighting this, and we are in this thing together, they have what we call withdrawal syndromes. So sometimes they will not have enough time to really just settle or wait patiently. They will be jittering, they will be doing all manner of things that they'll do. And then now, this tedious process, when you go through it, you endure through this tedious process to the end, at the end of it, you learn that there's actually a $450 that has to be paid for one to go to the lab to assess the level of intoxication. So now, as an organization, we are really concerned and we are advocating that laws and harmonization between institutions, the policies should be reformed, should be revisited. Because when you look at the magnitude of the problem that we have at hand and the approach that we are taking, it is no wonder we seem to be working like an elephant and reaping like an ant. It is because the effort that is being put, there is no clear will or deliberate will to see that we are actually fighting this to the core. Because look, people that are struggling with substance abuse, our goal is to win them over, not so. And this is the mandate of certain institutions like DEC, even China, I want to believe. But look, you want to tell someone who's already fighting the substance abuse, obviously we should know that resources are already a problem. Because when you are in this vice of substance abuse, they take all your resources, you see? And then you are telling them to pay a $450 to go to the lab. And that's not, it's not like when you pay a $450 then we are done, we are good, we're home and dry. No. After the lab, depending on the level of intoxication, they'll be put on medical, or rather they'll be prescribed some medicines. Those medicines, in many cases, are not even available in the institution or in the facilities. What happens? You need to buy. You see? So now, this puts so much pressure on organizations like ourselves. Because one, take for instance, the Youth Life Project under the program called Sober Youth Lab. We make sure that we go in the community, we bring these fellow youth to our center, we give them the adequate, necessary, right information about the substance, we try to support them, we try to encourage them, we try to encourage the families as well. At the end of it, you realize that, actually, not even at the end of it, even as we do this as an organization, we are actually not funded. How we wish one day stakeholders or partners like the Drug Enforcement Commission themselves will be adequately funded, that they can, not necessarily even funding us, but at least incentivize. They should incentivize us. Because you see, it's a very expensive undertaking. In this one instance, you get to have 10 youths. You need to move from point A to point B. Apart from moving from point A to point B, you spend almost a whole day or maybe days together. There will be need for them to eat. There will be need because most of these guys that are actually in this substance abuse, most of this abuse takes place at a place or happens at a place where they find their food or they do their pieceworks also. So meaning that if we are to effectively
win the fight, obviously, is to take them away from these spaces, which renders them vulnerable also because there will not be any channel of productivity. And when we start the process of rehabilitation, it doesn't mean they stop there and then. You see, it's a fight that they are trying to win over. So maybe they may do the correct thing 1, 2, 3, 4 days. Maybe the 5th day, they might.
The fee that you earlier mentioned that is being attached for someone, to get their test done to ensure or detect the level of drugs that is intoxicated in their body. Don't you think the fee that has been attached to said 400?
450.
450. Don't you think this has drawn people back from, coming forward, ensuring that, they receive this service?
Pretty much, this is why we are even here, to actually advocate that policy must be revisited to promote harmonization between institutions. Because, see, 450. For example, this one fateful day, we had about 7 youths that were taken to China because DEC did not have the necessary tools to use in the laboratory. Then, at the end of this tedious process, I want to emphasize on this. I think it's just too much. At the end of this tedious process, you only learn at the end of it that, oh, now that we've reached here, now for you to be helped adequately, we need to test these people so that we know the level. Then you have to pay 450. You are putting pressure on organizations such as ourselves. We are volunteers and we are not funded. We are not incentivized either. So now we are appealing. It could be through the CDF itself. There has to be a portion that will target, because this problem, for example, in my constituency, Munali constituency, this is a very serious problem that you cannot just point at Kalingalinga where we are housed, but you talk of Kaunda Square, talk of Ngombe Garden. It's crazy. It's crazy. This is a very serious problem. I think as a community, as a constituency, I would also want to bring to the light that maybe it's about time even the CDF committee should revise their prerequisites for one to get funding or to get a grant or some sort of support from them, because there's this issue that needs urgent attention. And for this issue we really need to be proactive. We really need to be proactive. It is a need for us to be proactive. So 450 by 7, and this is a group that we literally had to walk to Kabulonga deck offices. After giving a referral letter, we had to walk again from Kabulonga to China, with the understanding that we'll be helped. Then we get to China, we endure all the hunger, all the challenges that we face along the way. At the end of the process, the tedious process, then you are told 450 each. It is, to us, it is like building during the day and breaking in the night. We look at it, if policy is not being revisited, deliberately revisited to promote harmonization and fast tracking, then it is clear that there is lack of political will and just people playing to the gallery, because it is not helping, it is fighting us back.
And then maybe, since we're talking about, curbing or rather helping those people who are addicted, what about handling the issue from the root? What causes them to actually go into drug abuse? Maybe you should handle that from the root.
Of course. Like we are saying, this is a very complex issue, because it is not a one size fits all, but also there are many factors that are contributing to where we are right now. In this case, we already have a group that is already grappling with this vice. Then we also have a group that is a target group or a potential market, which is an endangered group that might at any time be in this. There are many things that we want to do. As a community, we feel it is time that we revisited family values. We appreciate our hardworking parents. They are really doing so much to make ends meet for the family, to be able to take these youth to school and to do what, to just be able to pay rental and all that. We understand, of course, that the economy is also biting. But
to what will it be of benefit if you manage to put bacon on the table and the people you are putting bacon for on the table cannot actually enjoy that bacon because what they need that morning is not bacon, is a stick of volo. You see? So I want to urge my fellow parents that let's find time for the youth. And in an event where they don't have enough time for the youth for various reasons, there are organizations that have spaces that are youth-friendly, like the Youth Life Project itself. Our offices are structured in such a way that there is a youth space that has people that are readily available to promote the productiveness of the youth. So these spaces, the spaces are, there are many spaces, of course. These spaces, they are open for youth to come and study, for youth to come and learn, for youth to just come and have a conducive environment and develop in that space. If that youth loves singing, we want to let them know that they can find fellow artists or fellow people that can actually sing in the space, even coach them, even connect them. If they love dance, they can actually come to the space and they'll find that. If it's any form of art, whatever they do, but this is a space that is safe from intoxication, safe from all these vices. What is contributing? It is not only parents and families per se. Politics has contributed largely. As a matter of fact, the Youth Life Project also was born as a result of the problem that our politicians caused. Not so long ago, you agree with me that youth has been a very important tool for political violence for the longest time in this nation. Emanating from the time of MMD, we've had this problem. And you realize that what they've done deliberately is they will promise you so much, especially during elections. And when they are in power, they only give opportunities to the privileged few. These are youths connected to the party. These are youths connected into their structures of families, and not the general populace of the youth that they promised, a neutral youth that they promised. So I feel it has been a political game also to just keep youth on the side of lacking, so that they can have them at any point. When they say we need someone to throw stones, there's 100 kwacha on the table. Because they want that 100 kwacha, they will not even think twice. So that has been the cause. That's part of the problem. Then now, the other problem has been, as parents, we've let TV bring up our children. And on TV, we know 90% of content is not conducive for the youthful. It is not conducive. There's so much violence. There are so many things that TV is teaching our children. And you know, when we are so busy also as parents not having time for the children, when we want to talk to the children, you realize that you will no longer have access to them, because they have all these people that they are paying allegiance to. So pretty much I think this is something that is complex and requires concerted effort, both from the community, from the politicians or the leaders, and everyone involved.
You attended the engagement meeting in Kalingalinga on Saturday. Do you think such engagement, or rather such programs, are a solution to addressing the issue of drug abuse in our communities?
Well, that was a very positive undertaking, by the way. They are not just a solution. They are part of the solution. It's one stage in the solution, because if you look at the 10-point plan on how, or approach that, on how you could actually fight drug or substance abuse effectively, community engagement is one of them. So that is the entry point, community engagement. Why? That will foster correct information dissemination. Yeah? It will foster oneness in the community. We'll have one specific objective as a community. We'll speak the same language, and we'll all know what we ought to do at any given point or given time. You see? So meaning that we'll be a united force as a community, and how we wish that this can be replicated in many other communities of Munali constituency and as a nation as a whole, because you realize that Chibolia now it's not. Chibolia is now a brand that is not just a town there or a community there. Chibolia is in Mtendere, Chibolia is in Kalingalinga. It is everywhere. You see? So now, community engagement is a very important step. Away from community engagement, it is peer engagement. Peer engagement entails that no one is going to call this youth that is sick, because you know substance abuse is sickness. It is sickness. So you are not going to call them a junkie. I think that is stigma. That's stigmatization. So peer engagement means that we create an enabling environment. That's why we are saying community stakeholders meeting. That was one very important undertaking, because when we have a common understanding like that, we even be able to understand that actually one of the things that actually alienates these people is the fact that we call them junkies. So they feel wasted, they cannot do anything worthwhile, they are the rejects, they are the failures, they are those people without attention, they are the nothings of the community. So peer engagement is very important. At community level, at household level, because some of these people, you realize that they jump into this vice of drug or substance abuse, not because they just wanted. It's because they just want, there was a need, there was an empty space within themselves to feel relevant, to feel important, to feel accepted. You see? Sometimes at home, I go back to parents or just communities. Some people are locked down. Some people are not really, they are not given the opportunity to express themselves. So now they'll go and find these expressions amongst these people that will accept them and introduce them to these vices of substance abuse or drug abuse, if you like. So now, some of them, they're just there to seek approval. So now, as communities, if we are going to even further alienate them by calling them junkies, then we will not be helping the situation. We will not arrest the situation at all. So I think that was a very important undertaking. I reiterate, that has to be done at many various platforms and across communities in the nation.
Are there enough rehabilitation centers in the country? Even have you seen the same at community level for easy accessibility?
As a matter of fact, as a nation, I don't know of any rehabilitation center, because I don't think Chainama would be a rehabilitation center. Chainama is a clinic. In the nation, I remember last year in August, the president actually did promise that he is going to put up one state-of-the-art rehabilitation center. Wow! As an organization, we would like to ask questions on that one, because at least if no stone has been laid for now, at least we would have just seen the site, would have heard of some news, or this is where we are going to have, and maybe this was something in that direction. The president did echo that, but we are, alas, nothing has been done. We are hoping that can be done, or rather reached out quickly. That should be attended to quickly, because the only rehabilitation centers that we have, most of them are private. They are either for the Catholic, or we have for Great North, or these other stakeholders. But also, if you look at the rehabilitation process, because one of the reasons why we are losing at this battle, we are literally losing, it is because of the same rehabilitation centers. You are working on these youth, and after talking to them, after counseling, after all the processes, they are going back to this same toxic community. You see? The same toxic conditions. They are not accepted because of the several mistakes they've made. So their siblings, you talk to them in a particular way, they avoid them. And after that, so they still feel, oh, I'm still alone. I think I need to do something for them to be accepted. You know, we are social beings. So at the end of it all, we need some sort of approval at some point from someone or something. You know, we want to be a part of something. So if we are sending them quickly to these same families, which have not yet accepted them, before they even fully reform, we don't, work done is equals to zero. So we need, as a matter of fact, as a nation,
even before rehabilitation centers, we need some sort of offices even for the Drug Enforcement Commission itself. Oh, where we don't have offices, we can leverage on already existing structures. For example, the Youth Life Project again. This is one existing structure and an active player in this space. We can leverage on that. And you see now, when we talk of leverage, this will be maybe just bringing in one officer to just be stationed there, or building capacity from the already existing officers at these structures, and or incentivizing, because this is a very important undertaking and it's a very expensive venture to run. So now, to incentivize, it will make sure that even the professionals that are in these spaces, they are not only motivated, but they are vigilant to actually approach and do the needful.
Just hold your thought. Let us take this call. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, madam. How are you?
We are fine, thank you, sir. Who are we talking to?
Talking to Mr. Jackson.
It's good to know that you're watching us, Mr. Jackson. Please go ahead with your contribution, sir.
Yes, I appreciate the contributions on your program concerning the drug abuse and how some cause is explaining things. So, touching that he understands the nature of what is going on in the society. And as he's talking about calling names the student junkies, one factor, we are not supposed to label them. And we should be able to understand what is the next step that we are supposed to do to rehabilitate and make them come to the society and understand this. So some of them, it's not just for parents to guide them. Others, that's taken by their friends, that's being guided. So we need to find the people like some calls there who can be able to organize a group or a society who can be able to pinpoint and find those guys where they have been found. Because those who are selling the drugs, it's business for them. And if at all these places are reported and found, there should be officials and officers who can be able to touch those areas and find those drugs and be able to convict them. Because right now, the situation is not so good, because you see, children are moving about anyhow without any papers. And so, this psychology is standing and this group is very, very important. We need to see how we can be able to bring this to an end, because it's going to eat or take away the fiber of this nation.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your contribution. Maybe your comment on the contribution being made by the caller there.
Well, I just appreciate the emphasis that is put on the things that we had already mentioned. You know, this is something that we cannot afford to ignore. We can't afford, because right now drugs are found everywhere at our doorsteps. They're there. You send a child to go and buy bread. In that particular shop, they're actually selling drugs. They are selling alcohol, where we are supposed to just get basic groceries. And some of us, that's why, you see, like I had said, it's a complex issue that needs concerted efforts. Because some of us that are even crying and calling these children, the youth, junkies and all that, do you know that we are the ones that have actually housed these drug lords? We are the ones that have actually housed these people that are selling things that are destroying our children. You are a landlord in Kalingalinga. You have this particular person that came renting your shop for grocery, but now it's a bar, and you have no problem with it because that shouldn't be the case. If you put money in front, or before anything else, at the expense of the community, at the expense of your own children, trust me, not even that money will be meaningful in your hands, because you have so much trouble that money will not be able to solve. These are children or people that, or the youth that we do not have full control over, because drugs are right in school. They are there. You think you are sending your child to school,
just there, right there at school, they're able to access drugs. Right there at school, they're able to get intoxicated. So if you look at this, it needs a holistic approach. As a nation, we need to rethink policies around this. We really need to rethink. Because also when you look at, for example, I remember when we had the community engagement, the councillor bemoaned the fact that people will look at him and think he's not working because he is not stopping that Rwandi from selling drugs in that shop, or that Zambian from selling those drugs in that shop. But you see, it's not, when you look at how the law has been structured and how things are, things like this, they are not fast-tracked. So you find that it's complex. You may not like it, but there are many other stakeholders that must be engaged. There are many other people that must work for that thing to be actuated. So you see, it's a very complex issue that needs a holistic approach. Everyone must be involved. Everyone must be involved. Not just looking at it as deck. And we know.
We do have another caller.
Yes, yes,
hello, good morning.
This is calling from Ranch and Tatamata.
All right, please go ahead. It's good to know that Luash is watching.
Yes, my contribution or my addition on what my boss is saying there is first and foremost, what I would like to say is from Zambia, we have to want to plan that without acting of what we are saying. I'm sure we are good at talking. We do talk well, but when it comes to action, we are failures. And this is why our topic is here to quite pull around each and every time. To understand it, when the topic comes to Alanda, but to the level, and this is why number problems reason why we are good at talking. So let's make sure it's the land. We act on what they are saying. Not to Kulanda the Chapter and Kulanda Chunky at Marilanda with our land, but let's act. So that if it's Monica, it's today, if it's just change that. Because the Kerala that they will end up with this story. And so at least let's make sure let's make sure as a community, as a nation, to our own data for Mukuchitashani, Mukula Monokola, not to grant the Japera from media, please. Because we are tired of listening in media, we are tired of seeing people coming out, and everything, nothing is being done. And let's make sure as we come out to the media, as we come out where and where, that's when you start around the world, not issue for today and that one. No, but the great matter, nothing is being seen on that. It's around that grand person, that issue for today and that one. That's my contribution.
Thank you so much for your contribution. Basically, this brings me to another question. We are aware that your organization, is so much involved in dealing with the issue of, drug abuse and helping, the young people out there. But do you think government, in as much as the various stakeholders can come on board, but do you think government has given this a priority, to ensure that they address this issue?
Wonderful question. This gives us a platform to actually call for more support. I remember during one of the meetings, I had actually brought it out to say we feel there is need for government to pay attention to necessary institutions or mandated institutions that look at this issue of substance abuse, because it is not like it was before. Remember in my preamble, I actually did liken the issue of substance abuse to corona, because the aggression that it is ravaging our communities and devouring the youth is just so immense. It is too aggressive, and I don't think as government they are doing enough. Of course, the argument is always, budgets cannot be met, so there are all these what and all that. We look at the source, but you know what? Whenever there's a pandemic, I think certain things are not even mentioned. People don't even think twice. Resources, somehow, they're just found. And what we are calling on the relevant authorities is to somehow find these resources, because youth is wasting. The future belongs to the youth. That youth that is wasting is the president. That youth that is wasting is the minister. These are technocrats that we have, not only for today, but even for the future. We don't want to have people in power or in decision-making places or platforms, and they are intoxicated. Where are we going to go as a nation? So with the mind that youth is a very important asset, what we want to call for from our leaders is to deliberately look at these issues or this issue with keen interest. Long ago, the issue to do with drugs was an issue that was so much associated with people that were coming from well-to-do families. But nowadays, even where I come from in Kalingalinga, where we only have 1 meal or 1.5 meals a day, we have these things seriously so. And some of the people that are actually abusing this substance, they are not even youths per se, they are parents. So instead of even working so hard to provide that 1.5 meal, priority will go to feed their need for drug or for substance. So you realize that suffering becomes even more. So I think it's about time that the government woke up to this fact that drug or substance abuse is now a pandemic, because the same things we are seeing in Mnali constituents, for example. Go to Copperbelt, you find that this is the same thing they are facing. Go anywhere, these are the same issues that are there. So now we cannot afford to lose youth at this rate. As a government of the day, that the people that we are calling on the government of the day to look at this issue, not to play to the gallery, not to play politics. We understand resources are always not enough, but we want relevant institutions to be given adequate resources, to have a task force, if need to be created, to specifically look at the issue of drug or substance abuse. Let DEC be helped, let the Ministry of Health be helped, let stakeholders in the community be helped, so there can be proper harmonization and policy to be channeled deliberately to look at how best they are going to attend to some of these things.
What are some of your concluding remarks, even as we wrap up on the segment?
You know, at Youth Life Project, we say fruits don't lie. That's our slogan, fruits don't lie. We are where we are right now because of what we did, where we are coming from. It's not by accident that we are facing these problems. It's not. Indications have been there. Deliberate things have been there, have been done. And now we are here. But you see, because we are already here, we do not even have time to point on A or B. The only time we have is to think at a rate and level and frequency that should be far beyond superseding this challenge. So that not only do we sort it out temporarily, but we sort it out and bring out issues or ways that are going to ensure that our solution will endure for the longest possible time. So we are calling on stakeholders. First of all, we are calling on our fellow players, organizations, the CSOs, CBOs, youth-oriented, youth-led organizations to just hang on. We know it's hard. We know it's not easy. We know it's expensive. We know you are not supported. Yes. Like ourselves. To just hold on and continue doing this thing, because we started seeing the need that humanity needed this service. And we are also calling on the relevant authorities and partners that feel what we are doing is necessary and is good enough, for, not just for the community, but for the nation, to come on board and help us. Because at our center, for example, we have enough space that we need to put a studio there, We need to put games there. We need furniture there. We need many things. Every Friday we have what we call mentorship programs, where all these youths come from what we have from this mentorship program, and to stretch from Tendere Maploti Chainda area, coming all the way to here. And along there we have a few from Kaunda Square, a few from Chamba Valley, just like that. But what challenges us mostly is the fact that we do not have adequate resources, even in terms of furniture. So we are calling for well wishers to visit the Youth Life Project, to support us with furniture and necessary resources that we might need, because we already have the youth that are willing, and we need to really come to the fore.
Quite interesting. Thank you so much, Mr. Nkosi, for coming through to the program. It was quite, a fruitful discussion, and then we hope that, indeed relevant authorities and other stakeholders will come on board just to help, curb and fight these fights in our communities. And we're looking at the role of community in preventing drug abuse, and in studio we were joined by the Director for Youth Life Project Zambia, Michael Nkosi. We have now come to the end of our program this morning. For me, Miriam Kaimba, and my colleague Zipporah Mshala, it's bye-bye. Do make a date with us tomorrow morning as we bring you another interesting and exciting topic. Good morning.